we got to state the center and the radius and then graph it. So we know what our equation of a circle is, right? Got our equation of a circle right here. HK represents the center, R is the radius. What's our center point going to be? It's x minus h. It's x minus 3. It's just going to be 3 for the x coordinate, right? And if it's y minus k, got to take the opposite here. It's going to be -1 for the y coordinate of the center point. So I see my signs up here. Long story short, I just changed my signs down here for my x and y coordinate. The radius, well, this is my r squared over here. So r squared is 81, meaning I take the square root, right? So my radius is going to be 9. Okay, if we plot this out to graph it, here's my center point. Okay, we're just sketching here, so we'll do the best we can. For your radius, I'm going to extend out to the left here. We'll go out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 places, right? That'll give me another point then, one of the points on my circle. I'll do the best I can here to try to fit a circle in. Kind of limited with my room, but it's a little lopsided, but not a bad artistic rendition of the circle. Alright, so if that makes sense, then I got another equation here. X squared plus the quantity y plus 3 squared equals 12. What's the center of that one going to be? What's my x coordinate? 0, right? There's no quantity over here. Nothing's added or subtracted onto x. So 0. What's my y coordinate? -3. And then the radius, we're taking the square root of 12, right? Take the square root of 12, break that down. What's the square root of 12 simplified to? 2√3. So I'll plot my center point. Count out my radius, which we'll just do the best we can here to approximate. 2 times the square root of 3. What is that? Approximately. 2 times the square root of 3. It's greater than 2, less than 3, right? So if I count that out, I'll just use the y-axis as a guide. Maybe give myself another point right there. Try to squeeze in a circle. That's not too terrible. There's my sketch. So yeah, we've got a more complicated form here to find the center and the radius. So we're going to use a little completing the square technique. How we're going to do that, because we want a quantity that contains the x's squared, we want a quantity that contains the y squared. We got to group together our x's, group together our y's. So I'm going to take my x squared term and my minus 8x term. I'm going to jot that down first. Since I'm going to complete the square, I'm going to leave a little space. Next, I'm going to take my y squared term and my 2y term, position those, leave a little space to complete the square with that, meaning we're actually going to complete the square twice here. That's all going to equal, well, my constant value of 8, I'm going to move over. Subtract that to the other side. All right, reviewing how we complete a square. On my x term here, I take this -8. I divide it by 2, and I square it. So that's going to be negative 4 squared, which would be 16. I'm going to add 16 on. Now, whatever I do to one side of the equation, got to keep this balanced. So I'm going to add on 16 to the other side. Okay, as I complete the square with respect to the y terms, I'm going to take half of the 2 that's in front of the y term. Obviously, that's going to be 1. I'm going to square that, still going to be 1, and add that on. Whatever I do to the left side here, got to do the right side over here. So we do that to complete the square and get the form that we need. For the x terms here, this is supposed to factor down to a perfect binomial squared. It's going to be x. And the trick is this value right here is always half of this value, so it's minus 4. And we're going to add on. Same kind of setup here for the y's. Start with y. Again, take half of this guy right here. That's plus 1. There's our perfect binomial square with regards to the y's. On the right side of the equation, just go ahead and add all that up. If we add it all up, we get 9. And now we're back to something we should be familiar with. We know from this form, the center. This would be 4, this would be negative 1. Radius is the square root of this number, so 3. Plot it out, graph it. That'll do. That's the same as before. Grouping your x's together, grouping your y's together, moving the constant to the other side. On my x term here, take the coefficient of 6. I take half of that, square it. I add on 9 to both sides. My y terms here, I take half of the negative 4. That'd be negative 2. I square that. That's 4. I'm going to add 4 now to both sides. Completing the square, breaking this down further, we're going to have for our x's, x, half of the plus 6 is plus 3. So x plus 3 is a quantity squared. Breaking down the y's here, it's going to be y. Half of the negative 4 is negative 2, so it's y minus 2 is a quantity squared. That's going to equal the 12 plus the 9 plus the 4, which conveniently works out as 25. Meaning our center is what? Negative 3, 2. And our radius is just 5 because that's the square root of 25. So plot our points, set up our circle. See, really that wasn't a bad effort.